What's up guys, it's me Jake here, and today I'm going to be doing my top 10 protagonists in manga. Now, I'm going to have a couple honorable mentions, actually quite a few honorable mentions. It's either that I've watched the anime and I have not yet read the manga, or the light novel, either one of the two. Or I just didn't read enough of it. I know I'd probably put them in here, and I didn't read enough of it to actually get a kind of grasp on how I would put them in here. But yeah, that's just going to be my honorable mentions. I'll talk about them later on in the video, but I cannot wait to get into this top 10 since I know I've already done a couple videos about top 10s, and one of them being my top 10 characters, and yes, it was one of my first videos, but that bombed. But I think it actually is my least viewed video on my channel, but I think that's kind of funny for me. But I'm going to be doing my top 10 protagonists now. So yeah, let's get straight into it because I have a lot I want to talk about and I don't want to waste your time. So yeah, let's get straight into it. And number 10 is, I don't really talk about much on my channel, but I think it's just an easy 9 out of 10. The anime is not as good as the manga, but the anime is still really good and really enjoyable, and this manga is so good. And of course, the main character is great as well, and that is Shoya Ishida from A Silent Voice. I love Shoya Ishida. I don't think I talk about it enough. I think I talked about it on the Raku Otaku podcast episode when I was still around, but I will say I loved Ishida. He was one of my favorite characters in this, and I think it's just a beautiful story from being the bully to getting bullied, to kind of getting away from all that, and just being by himself, and seeing how loneliness really affects a human. And I really loved that, and seeing how he tries to get out of that loneliness again, and tries to make friends again, and seeing how he kind of gets back into the world. And even though it's kind of a simple theme, I think Shoya Ishida is a perfect protagonist for this, as we see how desperate he is at some points, and we see how really broken he is. And in the first volume, there's one panel that, I don't know where it is, but it really hurt me, and it was after he was the bully. I think it was around the end, when he's pretending that he is with his friends, because they started bullying him, and really he wasn't with them, and he's just crying in his room alone, pretending he's with them. And that is very, very hard-hitting, and I think Shoya Ishida is an amazing protagonist, and seeing how those little things happen with him, and seeing how he kind of deals with life with that, is really beautiful. And I really love A Silent Voice, and I think Shoya Ishida is an amazing protagonist because of these little things. So yeah, on to number 9 though. Wow, this protagonist is way different from Ishida thinking about it, but number 9, from One Punch Man, it's Saitama. I'm gonna be very honest, Saitama's hilarious. I love Saitama's character. Even though his goal is pretty simple, he just wants to have a real fight with someone, even though because he's just way too strong. He is so funny to read about now. I've read like 7 volumes and I watched all the anime, and I think he is one of my favorite protagonists. He is so funny. I love his character design. I love how it's super simple, but when it's serious, it's insanely well drawn. I love how he goes about his kind of philosophy. I love his kind of comedic moments where he's like serious sidestep and there's just like 100 after images of himself. I love those like little moments, and it's just really funny. And I love all of One's characters. I think him and Mob are probably around the same, but I don't have Mob on this list. I'll be spoiling that. I think Mob and him are around the same tier, but I think that I have more enjoyment from Saitama because Saitama's just funnier than Mob. I think that, yes, Mob is a great protagonist. I think Saitama's just one of the funniest ones out there. I think Saitama does his job really well in being funny, and I think that's one of the main things that is made for Saitama. I like his character design, his kind of style, and his backstory is so funny to me. And I love like those little kind of aspects of kind of comedy they throw in here for it, and then when it becomes serious, like his Boros fight, it becomes really serious. I love those kind of like differences in the story, kind of like Gintama has that. I really like that with Gintama as well. So yeah, I definitely will say Saitama's definitely in here at my number 9. Now for one, I don't think a lot of you were actually expecting. Denji from Chainsaw Man. This man is hilarious. He is one of the most relatable protagonists, as all he wants to do is cop a feel, and like that by itself is just hilarious. That out of all the goals he can have, that's his goal. And mostly for a shonen, like a battle shonen manga in Shonen Jump, that's even funnier to think. I think that just makes Denji such a better character as well. The design really cool. Denji as a character really cool. The Chainsaw Devil is really sick. But overall, he's just funny. Like, Denji is one of the most relatable characters, and his like kind of dynamic with power is just so hilarious to me. And I love how he has two kind of very polar opposite dynamics, with him and Power kind of being like the comedic one, and then him and Makima being the very serious one. I really do like that. Yes, I've yet to complete Chainsaw Man yet, but I'm currently reading it on the Jump app, and I'm loving it. Chainsaw Man is amazing. It's so good. I definitely highly recommend Chainsaw Man, and Denji, bro, he deserves to be on this list at number 8. He is way too good for the series, in my opinion. Like, this series is really good, but Denji is just so hilarious. Like, when I say he's way too good for the series is amazing. I'm not saying that the series is bad. I don't know why I said it like that, actually. I'm just being stupid. But Denji, amazing. Definitely read Chainsaw Man if you haven't. This is so good. I actually probably rate this higher than JJK. I'll be very honest. I'll be 100% honest. I think I rate this higher than JJK. And the funny thing is, I've read the Shibuya arc, and I've only like 50 chapters in Chainsaw Man. So that's not even biased. Just letting you know that. And next up, and number 7, something I talk about not very much on this channel, but only in the collection videos and kind of in some videos here and there, but I don't really talk about much, but I do love the series, and the Protagonist is one of my favorite of all time, hence why he's at number 7, but Yusuke Urameshi from Yu Yu Hakusho. Now, you don't know, I love Yu Yu Hakusho, and Yusuke is definitely one of the main reasons why I love Yu Yu Hakusho. He is such a comedic gold character. Like, his comedy is hilarious, and I'm seeing a theme with his last 3. They're all comedy. Like, I really like them based off comedy, but Yusuke is a little bit different, and that's why he's above all of them. He is seen as a delinquent, and he's shown as a delinquent from very early on, even though deep down he is just an upstanding guy. He really just wants to help the people that he can help, and I love that about Yusuke. He, of course, is not smart like every other shonen protagonist. He isn't smart, but he is just trying to help people with what he is given. And I love that about Yusuke. He is just trying his best to help people out there and help his friends become stronger. And I love how he had the first 5 volumes, even though I didn't like them too much. I liked when he was in like the first, I think it's 3 or 5 before he gets back into his body. And I really like that. It really builds upon his character a lot. And I do really enjoy how Yusuke goes about his character. And I think that Yusuke definitely deserves to be on this list. His comedy is comedic gold. And I love this is one moment that solidified it for me, even though I know, anime noob, you probably hate it, and I'm calling you out right now because you hate Rintaro Okabe because of this, but when Kuwabara was like, I can't fight a girl, and then you know what Yusuke did if you've read or watched Yu Yu Hakusho, so that's one moment that solidified it for me. Man's straight Chad, love him. He's literally one of the most lovable characters, but yeah, I'm not going to just stand here and say he's a straight Chad for another 16 minutes. Let's go on to number 6. Now, my next 2, 5 and 6, I don't have physically because they don't have physical English release, but the next one I've made a video on pretty recently. I actually made a review, and that will be Kabane from Kemono Jihen, and that review will be in the card corner thingy somewhere, but Kabane is so great. I love how he is an emotionless character, just trying to find emotion, and try to find his parents, as he is not really too in-depth so far from what I've read. Yes, of course, I've yet to read super into Kemono Jihen. I think I'm like around volume 9 out of 13. So yeah, actually, I've read a lot of Kemono Jihen, but I will say I do like Kabane's character a lot. He does drive the story a lot, and how he goes about his character, even though he's emotionless and trying to find emotion, and doesn't really know anything about the real world, and trying to learn things is very interesting to me, as that's kind of like a slice of life kind of theme, trying to kind of get what is around you and kind of understand what's around you, because you didn't really have that when you were growing up. But in a battle shonen, and the way that Kemono Jihen does it makes it super interesting, as we don't really know much about Kabane, but Kabane is trying to figure out a lot about this world and figure out a lot about everything around him. And I think that is just beautiful in itself, as he is going through life. And I love one moment where he's trying to figure out what love is, and someone explains it to him, and he just gives Mr. Inugami like a tissue, and he's like, I love you. That, like, those little kind of like comedic moments also help his character a lot, because he doesn't really know things, and he doesn't really get the context of things. But over time, he does learn a lot, and I think that is very important to see in these kind of protagonists, is when they're like Kabane, and you see them learning over time, it's really helpful for their character, and I really do like that for their character. And Kabane is a very great character, and I love him. I'm literally saying great character a million times. So, I think I'm done with Kabane, and let's get on to number 5. Now, for a series I've been wanting to talk about, because I've been binge reading it recently, so most of my reading log this month is going to probably be the series, and I'm going to be hyped to talk about it, but I'm not talking about the series, I'm talking about the main character, and that's going to be Takemichi Hanagaki from Tokyo Avengers. Now, I know you might be saying, I don't like crybabies. I don't like Deku at all. But of course, I do like Natsuki Subaru and also Takemichi Hanagaki. Even though both of them are kind of crybabies, and Takemichi Hanagaki's nickname inside of Tokyo Avengers is the Crybaby Hero, but I think that Takemichi is done so well. Even though he does cry a lot, I love his character, as he's a 26-year-old in a 14-year-old's body, and he saw the one person that ever actually cared about him die. And seeing how he goes back in time and he sees her again, he sees Hinata, Tachibana, and he sees all these things, and he's trying his best to save her. And if you think that's a spoiler, that's all the whole basic synopsis of Tokyo Avengers, and that is literally chapter 1. So I'm not spoiling anything from Tokyo Avengers. I definitely would suggest watching the anime too. I'm watching it weekly with a bunch of friends on Discord, and a bunch of us are actually reading it on Discord as well. Amazing series. I'm at chapter 105, and I think it's straight up gold. I think it's one of my favorite series of all time. It's probably gonna break into my top 10, but overall, Tokyo Avengers is really driven by Takemichi Hanagaki, as yes, he's completely weaker than everyone in his cast. He doesn't give up. And that's why he's a crybaby, is because he gets he gets beat up. He just gets destroyed in every fight. But does he give up? Absolutely not. Because he knows his goal is to save Tachibana Hinata, and he knows what he wants to do. He knows he has to do everything in his power to save her, because she is the only character that ever really cared about him and really actually loved him. And that's what is making Takemichi so great, is that we see how much he develops and how much he goes from a crybaby to someone that can actually stand on his own. And even though he doesn't win fights usually, he always helps the people around him and picks them up from the ground. Not actually physically, but he actually just helps them by his words, and not giving up by himself is leading them into getting stronger. And how his leadership is amazing. I love how he can just get destroyed, but as he's getting destroyed, people around him start getting stronger because of his kind of emphasis on not giving up. And it kind of brings along his philosophies and other people, and they get stronger and stronger with him because of that. And I think that kind of leadership is really amazing. How he doesn't have to be strong to lead these people. He just has to be himself. And that's one thing I really love about Takemichi. He is such an amazing protagonist. And I know a lot of people complain about him crying a lot. He really deserves it. He's been through so much. And if you don't know anything about Tokyo Avengers, he really reminds me of a mix of a bunch of characters, but mainly Subaru. I really think he reminds me a lot of Subaru at moments. But I will say this whole kind of story of Tokyo Avengers reminds me a lot of Steins Gate Erased and ReZero kind of mixed together with Delinquents, and I think that's really amazing. So yeah, I know I've been talking about it for 3 minutes, so I'm just gonna kind of get off this and go on to the next character, which is my number 4. Okay, I am ready for you guys to roast me because none of you have read this series, but it is Utsuo Azako from Horribito. How Utsuo goes around fights with lying and how he kind of goes about his kind of lifestyle is really great. I love seeing how the Horribito around Utsuo are very different from him, as they're all using lies to actually hurt people, but while Utsuo is the one that's using lies to save people, and I really do like that kind of difference from him and the rest of the cast. I love his design, and I love how he fights. He's a very smart character, and he's in this world samurais and swords, but he doesn't fight with that. He really doesn't. He uses these little pod things that have explosives, poisons, and everything around them, and he uses them to lie to people and just kind of deceive them. And I love that kind of fight style with him. How he goes about his relationships with Pochi and Hikai and a bunch of other people inside this cast is really funny, and I love how he has a different dynamic with almost everyone inside this cast. I think that Utsuo is just so unique compared to everyone else in here. He definitely isn't like anyone else that I have in this list, and a lot of people haven't read Horribito, so I get it. I'm not going to rant on for it too long. Definitely suggest it though. Really good read, and I definitely think it's very unique and very good. So that's all I'd say about Horribito. Very good. Hope you guys enjoy it if you read it, because I love it. So yeah, on to my honorable mentions though, because I'm going to do that before my top 3. Now, there's a reason why these characters are in the honorable mentions. I'm going to say that before I even get into it, but basically, it's either I haven't read the series in a very long time, so I can't really remember much, or that I have watched the anime and not the manga or the light novel, so I can't really say that they're my favorite manga protagonists, or yeah, that's basically the main two. I will say that. It's basically the main two. And I'm just going to get into it with Thorfinn. I've yet to read a lot. Oh, yeah, and also, if I haven't read enough of it, I'm going to not put him on here because I've yet to see Thorfinn at when he's supposed to get really good. But I think I love Thorfinn a lot, but I've yet to see him get past where the anime is, which is like the whole Askeladd saga stuff. So I definitely think that I can't really put Thorfinn on here yet, but I want to put him on in the future. Next up, Kasuga. I think he's really good. I don't think he deserves that top 10 spot, but I think he's an amazing character from Flowers of Evil. Shiroway from Log Horizon. Watch the anime, haven't read the light novel. He would be on here if I read the light novel, probably. Natsuki Subaru, watch the anime, not the light novel, or manga, so he would probably be on here too, as Takamichi was. Aladdin from Magi, I think he's really good, but not, good enough to be on here. Yuji Itadori, same thing. He's really good, not good enough to be on here. And, yeah, I think that's it for my honorable mentions. I'll cut back in if I forgot one. Oh, I did forget one. Kenji Endo from 20th Century Boys. I've read it a long time ago, and I can't really remember much, so that's why he's on here. But yeah, on to my top 3. I cannot wait to get a lot of people heated. Now, my number 3 is one of the big 3, and it isn't Luffy. It is Ichigo Kurosaki from Bleach. I was actually, funnily enough, going to wear my Naruto hoodie, even though I think that Naruto's the worst of the big 3. I was going to wear it just to troll people for this moment, but Ichigo Kurosaki is so great in my opinion. He has comedic elements, and I think he's really on here for how much of a Chad he is. He literally got into a fight with 5 people that were fighting Chad, and he's like, he calls and says, we need 5 ambulances. And then they're like, what? And then he's like, for you people, and he starts fighting them, and then, of course, they need the 5 ambulances. That's a very bad way of explaining it, because I basically just butchered that part, but stuff like that happens with Ichigo, and it's just so great, and Ichigo's character is so Chadly. His character design is amazing. Yes, I know, I grabbed Volume 1, which is where the art is kind of not amazing with Ichigo, and just overall in Bleach, the art's not amazing at Volume 1, but I will say that it definitely gets a lot better as Volume 49, which is right here. Yeah, like this. Ichigo looks so much better on here. Like, it's actually insane to think that these 2 characters are the same people. But yeah, Ichigo's character design, Ichigo's character alone, and overall, I think Ichigo deserves to be on here. Even though he does have a lot of plot armor in moments, I will say it is quite cool seeing why he has plot armor. And I definitely do like him a lot, and his dynamic with Aizen and his group alone, and mostly Ishida. I think his group dynamic with Uryu is so funny and kind of sick at the same time. So definitely love Bleach, love Ichigo Kurosaki, and on to my number 2. Now for number 2, like I said earlier, wasn't Luffy at number 3 because it was at number 2. Monkey D. Luffy from One Piece is at my number 2 spot, and I think I have a lot of reasons for this. One main reason being the whole story is a pirate story, yes. But the main story for One Piece is not how the world affects Luffy, but how Luffy affects the world, and how his legacy is kind of building up as the pirate he is, and how his legacy as the pirate is growing bigger and bigger and bigger, and how his effects on the world government are getting harder and harder and harder for them to actually capture him, and he's getting way more bigger in bounty, and how he's becoming stronger and stronger, and stuff like that. I love that. I love how it's not just Luffy just going about trying to become Pirate King, it's also about the world around him, and I think that he affects the world a lot, and how it's about his own legacy. Even though he doesn't talk about it being his own legacy, that's mainly what One Piece is really about. It's showing Luffy's legacy as he's trying to become Pirate King, because, of course, you need a lot of merit to get to Pirate King, and you need to be very strong, and you need to get to the end of the Grand Line. So it takes a lot and a lot of effort to do that, and I think it's a huge legacy if you become Pirate King, and Luffy will have built up a huge legacy when he gets there. So I really do like that about Luffy, and his character is just super great. He has moments where he's completely stupid, but he really isn't a completely stupid character at moments as well. Like his talk with Vivi during Alabasta about the war. Amazing moment with Luffy, how he's just like, no, we can't do that. Like, trust me, it'll go bad. Like, stuff like that I really like about Luffy, and how he's really in it to help the people around them achieve their dreams while they're helping him achieve his. I love that a lot. So One Piece, amazing. Luffy, amazing. I probably butchered that part because I'm really bad at explaining why I like Luffy, but let's just get on to my number 1 because I think I'll be fine with that one. Okay, at this point, I think that you guys know what my number 1 will be. I talk about him a lot. Guts from Berserk. Guts is sick. I don't think I really have to say much about Guts. His character is really cool. How he's gone about life and how life has treated him is really sick and is really dark at the same time. But seeing how Guts really develops over time and with the people around him is really cool, and I really like that with Guts. I don't really think I have to explain much else. I love Berserk and I love Guts a lot. I think his character is really cool. The journey he's been on is really cool. The development he had is very realistic and humanistic. I definitely think his kind of road for revenge is definitely needed. I think that I really want to see Griffith get his teeth punched in. I want to see him just destroyed. I will very much be honest with that. But I definitely think that Guts is an amazing character. I definitely love him at number 1. I think he very much deserves it. Him and Luffy are pretty close, but I do think that he by far destroys the rest of them. Takemichi, I think, has room to grow because I'm still reading it, but I don't think he's going to get Guts and Luffy level. But yeah, I don't think I have much else to say. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I had really a long time making this list. It took me a long time because I had to think of all the characters that I could really put on here and where I'd actually place them. But I really enjoyed making this video, and the thumbnail, I love the thumbnail. So I hope you guys do enjoy, and I hope I see you guys next time. Peace!